started. But if you can figure out how to play the game no one else is playing, eventually people are going to come to the table, and you're going to be the furthest along to where you can innovate over protect. You can share your strategies and know that you can innovate quicker than anybody else at the table because they're still learning the rules.
But hey, let's definitely get started. Welcome to the Syndicated Podcast. I'm here. I've had the camera rolling just to catch some stuff, but we're here today with three of Seattle's more premier real estate professionals in the Gen Z area. We got Cody Davis, Charlie Rios, and Vayna Jerabek. All of us are in real estate in our own different ways, different fashions, but I'm going to go ahead and let everyone introduce themselves and what they do.
All right. So, hey guys, my name is Charlie Rios. I'm just a real estate agent here in Olympia. I'm also just working on my first property and buying out in Florida. Cody's one of my partners, and we're going to be taking on a deal.
My name's Cody. I'm trying to get into bigger multifamily. Started out investing in real estate at 19, real estate agent that hasn't sold very much, but here to learn and grow.
My name is Vayna Jerabek. I'm based out of Seattle, Washington. I run a team of 15 agents, and I mostly deal on the residential side, and I buy properties to BRRRR, and I do a lot of wholesaling.
Okay, and I'm Trey Sona, and I'm also a real estate agent and investor in the area. I focus mainly on property syndication, but I'm trying to get more into diversifying how I do things. Start off, what really got all you guys into real estate in the first place?
Well, I used to be a computer science major. I really got in it just for the money, and I quickly realized that this was something I didn't want to do. I didn't want to work 9 to 5 my whole life just to retire with 1 or 2 million. I got into real estate just because I could see that it's a really challenging business, but with great reward. I quickly met Cody, and he taught me about the multifamily business, and from there it's just history. We're planning on doing some big moves.
So I got into real estate straight out of high school. I applied to University of Washington. I got in, and I was gonna go, and then I saw that tuition bill, and I saw the time it would take. So I was like, you know what? This actually doesn't look that worth it. So I got my real estate license. I didn't make money for 6 months, but as soon as I did, the momentum picked up, and I never looked back.
And I got into real estate because I realized that I didn't have to have a ton of money if other people paid for everything. And so rental properties just kind of clicked with me. But like Vayna, it also took me 6 months to close on my first deal.
Okay, and when it came to you guys' first deal, what was that process like, that 6-month period between I'm now licensed, I'm not making anything, do I want to stay here? Because a lot of people quit real estate in their first year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wasn't really focused on selling. I was focused on learning. So I had gone through a program called Cardone University a couple times because I had no sales skills whatsoever. So I was prioritizing learning how to close instead of trying to close. I was learning what to say, when to say it, how to say it. And I had someone call me up, asked if I could sell a property over in Port Orchard, Bremerton area. And I said yes. And then we closed that deal out.
There it is. What about yourself?
That was a residential sale, Cody?
Yeah, that was a duplex.
Gotcha. Okay.
Off-brand.
No, it started you up. That's awesome. For me, during the 6-month period, it was really similar. I just spent a lot of time learning and shadowing other agents. I was driving other agents around for free for like all day long, 14-hour days. I come home all tired and make no money, but I got to see how the appointments went, and I got to see how they analyzed properties. So I learned a lot out of that. I was reading a lot of books, watching a lot of YouTube. I'm super big on Tom and Mike Ferry, the real estate coaches, just really trying to focus on selling houses. I was really focused on selling. So my first one was a listing about 4 months in that closed a couple months later.
Awesome. And then Charlie, you're still in that starting first year phase, right? So
so I'm still in the starting first year phase. I got into real estate and I was all about sales. I actually got my first deal 3 weeks in as a realtor, which I didn't know was a big deal until people were congratulating me. Yeah.
You're ahead of the curve.
Yeah. So I had that deal. I got it closed a month later, and then I quickly met Cody, who showed me, hey, you shouldn't really focus on sales. I joined Blackwell. I used to be with Keller Williams, and I joined Blackwell. And we were there for a couple of months, just working it out, learning, tagging along to Moises Lake, and just doing whatever, see how it goes.
Awesome. And then you talked about how Cody taught you shouldn't be focusing on sales. What pushed you to start moving towards the investment route?
as far as getting into the investment route, I look at it as I'd rather have recurring income that's maybe a little bit less than having earned income that's a little bit more. And so I realized if I could just go get 100 units at an average rent of $1,000, I can make $100,000 a month top line without working. And I just have to figure out how to go do that. And there was wholesaling and BRRRR, and there's all these different strategies. But I realized that if I go wholesale something, which I could have, there's been multiple six-figure and high six-figure wholesale opportunities that I could have done where, you make $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. But I got to go do that again. And if I could go make $500,000 selling a contract, why not just go figure out how to buy it and then get the equity up even more?
Genius. There it is. We love to hear it. And for your approach, you mentioned earlier that you spend a lot of time learning how to sell and not trying to force it. How would you say your approach is different from other people who are always trying to go the investment route and raising money?
Yeah, so my approach is completely backwards, and every sales coach on planet Earth would tell me I'm doing it wrong. And that's okay because they're right, but it works. And I don't ask for the sale. I don't call people up trying to buy their property. I actually call them up to learn how they did it. And it's trying to learn from someone who's actually done it. Turns out people that own real estate know how to buy real estate. And so I figured if I could just learn from all these different people that structured creative opportunities, which, by the way, the strategies are not in a book anywhere.
True.
Then I can get an edge on people and go out there and complete my mission.
Okay, and for your mission, what would you say that is?
Retiring my mom this year.
That's your solo mission?
For this year.
Love it. And then how would you feel like the steps you're going through to achieve that?
Well, I got enough real estate today to do that. I have to stabilize it, but so far there's enough income coming in to retire my mom and myself. I just have to get everything stabilized with property management, and then I hit my goal.
Speaking of property management, because that's something that I also do myself, what kind of got you to start doing? Because you have a property management company, correct?
Right.
What motivated you to start that as well?
The management company that was taking care of my portfolio when I had 81 doors went under.
Oh, okay. So you decided to take matters in your own hands.
Scrambling with 81 doors is not a whole lot of fun. It's a lot of money to have out in the atmosphere and not know where it's going. So that's what got me started.
I love it. And when it comes to handling your own deals, I remember not too long ago, someone drove something into one of your properties. Or
Yeah.
drove through a wall or something. How'd you handle that?
Well, tried to be pragmatic about it. Someone drove a truck through my 38 plex. So I called up a contractor, said, hey, can you go fix this? And he said, yeah. And then sent him a check, and he fixed the wall.
There it is. Okay.
And you had the reserves to take care of that.
Reserves help.
Reserves do help. They really do. When it comes to raising money, and because I do a lot of that myself in syndication, we all buy property. We use different methods. You doing the seller finance, myself with syndication and private funds. Vayna, what motivated you in your BRRRR model in terms of how you buy real estate?
What I love most about BRRRR model is every time I think about it, it's just free house. So as long as you can get the property at the right price, put in the sweat equity, refinance at the higher price and get all your money back, and then you can just go do it again, then you can just continue that cycle forever. And that's what motivated me in the first place. Like Cody, I wanted to just go straight to the passive income, but I didn't know how else to do it except to buy rental property. So I decided, okay, in Seattle, I need to save up $100,000 to BRRRR. So I did that, and the big goal was to accomplish that and then not have to work as much. So I still have my active income goals, but I really love being able to focus now on finding good deals to BRRRR.
You talked about your active income goals. You run a real estate team of 15 agents now.
Mm-hmm.
What got you into deciding, okay, I'm not ready? Because you haven't been in real estate that long. It's like some people wait 10 or so years before they ever start a team. You've been in real estate three years now?
3 years, yep.
And you decided to jump right into it. What motivated you to do so fast?
Yeah, I am a pretty new agent, and my team happened very naturally and organically. People just started coming to me, and I mentored one person for a while, and then we brought on another person, and so we grew very naturally. And there have been troubles and setbacks with running a team, especially at a young age. But what's unique about us is we are all 22 years old or younger. So we are really just this group of hustlers who are very independent in our learning, and we are doing our own thing together, growing together. And it's been really, really great to be able to support these people and their dreams. We have a transaction goal of 150 this year across the entire team. And my big thing is I want to see the whole team make over $1 million.
Amen. As someone who's been both a mentor and a mentee, how would you really like elaborate on or talk about the importance of mentorship?
Yeah, the importance of mentorship. So in my eyes, mentorship really accelerates you. I want to say that you don't need it because that's where a lot of young people get analysis paralysis over, I don't have a mentor, so I can't start. I don't have anyone helping me. That just means you want someone to hold your hand, right? So, and I really do believe, I was talking with Cody last week, I believe that if you are doing all the right things and growing your business by yourself and you're aligning yourself with the right activities that are helping you reach your goals, you are going to naturally meet the people who will help and support you. So I pay for coaching and I have found mentors organically, quote unquote, and it's really changed my life. I'm in amazing coaching communities with Tom Ferry and Thatch Nguyen, and it really does accelerate the whole growth overall.
You talked about how you meet people naturally. How did everyone here come to meet each other? Because that's actually a great thing I want to talk about.
That's interesting.
Charlie and I met through Facebook.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was a fun time.
Yeah, so I met Cody from some random BRRR Facebook group. That's just people nationally. I was just like, hey, any 19-year-old realtors here? Cody was like, I'm 20, but I have 20 units. And I was just like, no way. And then he said he lived in Tacoma, Washington. I was like, no way. I live 15 minutes away from there. We got Starbucks and he told me what he does. And I just quickly got hooked to what he's doing and said, hey, how can I learn more? And from there on, Cody's been my mentor.
That just shows how easy it can be.
Yeah.
Cody, I want to ask you, how did you decide to take Charlie under your wing?
I mean, Charlie seems like a nice guy.
That's all it takes.
Charlie's a nice guy.
He was nice. Because I'm sure you, like me, we both get approached all the time by people who want mentorship from us, right?
Oh yeah, hundreds and hundreds of
Uh-huh.
people.
Uh-huh.
How do you weed out the good from the bad?
I don't. I mean, I respond to as many people as I can, but I can't get to everybody.
That's a good point.
Try my best.
And how do you select who you choose to really maintain on your team?
Yeah, it's a lot of energy when you're taking people on and showing them what you do. So I'm not taking new people at the moment, but what I did back in October of 2021 is I just had so many people hit me up in such a short span of time. So I was like, all right, everyone, as long as you're in Washington State, which is how this is the most profitable for me to help you. If you're in Washington State, sign up with this link. We're going to do a 90-day internship style program. I'm going to train you once a week. I'm going to show you what I do, exactly what I do, and how to do it. And if you're still here at the end of the 90 days, you can earn an opportunity to join my team. And so out of that, that's how I grew the team from 6 to 15.
Okay, with that 90-day program, how many people would you say, if you remember, like estimate-wise, signed up for the program? How many people would you say finished?
It's funny because 60 people signed up, 40 people registered and showed up to the first day, and there was about 15 people at the end.
That just shows you, even if you really go about it, 3 months, real estate is not for everyone. But what traits would you guys all say you have to have to be successful, whether it's an agent or an investor or just in any part of this business?
I don't know that it's definitely just, a trade. But I would say you got to have the right motives. Because if you're just focused on making money, you're going to have a hard time. If you're focused on just getting the sale, you're going to have a difficult time as well.
Your intention shows.
Yeah, people are going to see why you're doing what you're doing. And, my business model, don't ask for the sale, is completely wrong and backwards for most people. But it works because my motives are there. I genuinely want to build a relationship with someone. I genuinely just want to learn and then give them the greatest gift I can of actually applying what they taught me. And a lot of people are in the game to make quick money. You can make a lot of money very quickly in real estate. I mean, people say you can't get rich quick. That's not true. In real estate, you can get rich quick. But it depends where your motives are.
No, because you really can get rich. All of us have all been in real estate for 3 years and under, I want to say, from the whole room combined. What, as being young in this game, Gen Z realtors, how would you say it was starting for you? Like, would you say you had a hard start? Because some people feel like they don't want to get started at our age because being young, you might not get respected as much. And I'd like to say that's not necessarily true, but it's really just about how you present yourself and how you handle yourself. What would you guys want to say on that part?
I mean, I agree. When I got into real estate, I was just nervous. I thought no one would take me serious just because I was 18 years old. Just present yourself well, dress well, know what you're talking about, and people just won't care.
You got your first deal in 3 weeks.
I got my first deal in 3 weeks. It just shows you I knew what I was talking about. It was an open house lady, loved the way I approached her, and deal went smoothly. So that's how we did it.
I think it's the mindset,
Yeah.
you know, like you say, how you present yourself and how you approach. A while ago, when I was getting the question a lot, how do I get people to take me seriously? In the back of my head, I didn't want to say it out loud, is just get over yourself. Like, people really don't care about you. They just care about what you can do for them. So, like, that helped me when I was young and building my confidence. Still am young, but when I was 18. And the worst thing when you are starting out is not knowing if you can do it or not. So I think, to circle back, the traits that you need to be successful in this business are resilience, and you need to be obsessed. You really need to be on it all the time. Because if you're learning and applying all the time, nothing can stop you.
You gotta put effort in. I got a real question about that. What would you guys say differentiates? Because a lot of people put effort into this business, but not everyone that puts the effort in gets those results. So what would you say differentiates effort from actually producing and getting those results on the back end?
Well, it's like, at what point do you consider it failure? How long do you have to go without business before you technically failed? I think if you go every day and you are actually doing what you should be doing, what all the successful people have done before us, that you just need to copy the steps, how can you go wrong?
I found that when I stopped focusing on gathering information, I started doing a lot better. A lot of people try and soak up information just to have information, but if you're trying to drive from, let's say I told you the address of one of my complexes, right? And you were to drive out there, you have Siri telling you where to go, you got the maps, you got it even on your phone and your car. Guarantee you the drive there would take longer than the drive back. Right? You got all the information, but you don't know where you're going. So I stopped trying to gather information just to have information. I focused on gathering certainty in a few things that allowed me to go quickly. Because when I know where I'm going on just a few things, everyone else thinks I'm going super speed, and to me, everyone else is going in slow motion. I can do circles around them because I know exactly what to do, what to say, because I became an expert at just a couple things. And then over time, I became an expert at a couple more things. But I wasn't trying to just soak up so much information to where I operated in theory. I was focused on practical application. How do I become the single best person at this on the planet? And then add something else.
And you can only get better by putting it into practice, right?
Exactly.
So you'd say, yeah, failing forward. That's like a big thing.
In terms of like mastering those base things, what would you say is a good first solid thing to master, like a foundation of people wanting to get into real estate or investing?
Talking with people.
Communicating.
There's a lot to communication.
So all the time.
I had to study a lot from a lot of different people. And Jordan Belfort, granted, he did some.
Wolf.
that is what it is, right? He can't take it back. But he is the single best person on the planet. At least he was, when it comes to building rapport with people. And so you take some of those principles and apply them. That's a good way to build up your skills when it comes to communication. Because your ability to connect with people determines how far and how fast you go in relation to your goals.
You mentioned Jordan Belfort. Are there anyone else besides like Jordan Belfort, Grant Cardone that you kind of look up to in terms of like business, networking, entrepreneurship?
As far as skills go, Chris Voss is a good one to look at.
Never Split the Difference. Great book.
Well then.
Kiyosaki.
Oh yeah.
I had the pleasure of meeting with Kiyosaki. He's different.
You said something about him really.
But he knows what he's doing. I mean, he did very well. So you can take ideas and apply them to business, and they work because they work well enough for someone over a long period of time. The odds are they'll work for you too.
What about yourself?
I really love Jim Rohn for the mindset and Zig Ziglar for the sales. They are like the OGs, like Earl Nightingale. That's where all of today's gurus learn from. And Oh, recently Tim Grover. I got to hear him speak live at a Tom Ferry event, and he's next on my book list for sure.
I'm gonna have to check him out. What about you, Charlie?
So other than Grant Cardone and Jordan Belfort, I am actually a huge fan. I look up to Ben Kenny. Ben Kenny actually lives in Washington. He lives in Bellingham. He owns several brokerages. He also owns Place, which I happen to be wearing a shirt.
Flex the merch. Let him know.
Yeah. Ben Kenny he's built an empire in the past 8 years. He used to work for Comcast, started at KW as an agent. He owns 9 franchises and owns Place, which is $1 billion company. I'm actually going to meet him on next month, and I'm actually spending the night at one of his houses, so that should be fun. But I really look up to him. His sales skills are awesome. His training, it's amazing. You guys should look up to him.
Yeah, you can take his job too next, right?
You heard it here first. Charlie's the next Ben Kenny.
There you go.
He's ready for it. I love to hear it. Man, so we're like, in terms of like, 'cause we all got into real estate at a very interesting time. I like to say we all got in roughly like 2019, 2020. Real estate's been evolving very heavily across the last 1 to 2 years. You got property selling as NFTs. You got people buying with cryptocurrency. How have those real estate changes affected you or you guys' business, if at all?
Hasn't affected me yet, but we are hearing about NFT sales in real estate. I think Tampa just closed an NFT real estate sale.
Go ahead. Because you're the NFT guy. So
I mean, what do you want to hear about it? Just
in terms of making money in NFTs, how that whole thing is. I don't do it. Cody's not in
okay.
crypto.
So the thing with NFTs, it's a non-fungible token. It's really complicated to explain, and sometimes it is somewhat stupid. You've seen those stupid drawings of like monkeys selling for $500,000. I've been lucky with some investments. I bought NFTs for $100, sold them for $3,000, $5,000.
How do you identify those investments?
Really, it's just from the power of TikTok. TikTok, it really does hype those projects up, and that's why NFTs are just powered by hype, most of them.
Cody, you got something to say about
What do you have to say about it?
I got a lot of things I'm not going to say.
That's a different episode.
Yeah, the idea of NFTs are there. We could possibly see it get implemented to the real estate world. We're seeing some sales like that right now.
Would you do it?
I say I would.
If an owner came to you and said, "Hey, I want you to sell my house as an NFT,"
I 100% would.
Oh, 100%.
100% would.
You do that too?
Oh, yeah.
Crypto. I believe crypto's the future. That's just me. We see houses right now. Sellers accept crypto as payments. There's been some houses that were sold for Bitcoin, and
True.
I truly believe that crypto does have a big future for us in the next 10 to 20 years, and that's just my personal thoughts. I know Cody's a little different with crypto. I don't know if you have any words to say.
How do you feel about crypto, Cody?
Regardless of whether we're talking about crypto, stocks, whatever, just because it makes money doesn't mean it makes sense.
That's correct.
Right? you go buy crypto, like, why? What is the point, right? People set their goals in real estate, for example. I want to get to 1,000 units, or I want to get to 10,000 a month, instead of setting their goal for what that allows them to do.
Mm-hmm.
You go buy, okay, I want to have $1 million in crypto. Well, what's that allow you to do? Why would you set a goal that is just based solely around having something to have it instead of having something impactful? You can set your goal of, I want to be able to donate $50,000 a month to help out with the Diabetes Association. And to do that, I'm going to need $10 million in real estate paying me 6% paid off, right? You do the math around that instead of, I just want to have some amount in crypto or in stocks or in real estate. It's like, what's that allow you to do? So when people say, I'm going to go do this in crypto, I'm like, was that what you really want to do? No, but it makes money. Okay, does it really make sense for what you're trying to do long term? Which is why I laugh at this stuff. People are selling digital salmon instead of building a portfolio that will actually help them retire their parents or help them give their kids the life they want to give them that they never had growing up. Why play games when you know certain things do work over long periods of time?
So you're saying you don't want a poster of a monkey in your metaverse bedroom?
Honestly, you got the whole metaverse art gallery. It's pretty sick.
Nah, that was awesome, Cody. That's cool.
I have a quick question for you.
Okay.
Just a quick question. So, would you ever take crypto as a payment? Say you have a tenant that would pay you, and why not? Just don't believe
That's
in
a
that
great
100%.
question. Why not?
Yeah, why not? Like it's cash flow. There's crypto coming every single month.
Depends. I don't like taking payment on things that are volatile. I like having constants, like a constant with cash. I know it's going down in value. At least I know what's happening.
Yeah.
But I can predict at what rate it's going to go down.
Mhm.
So when I get to direct deposit, like I don't keep that forever. So I'm just going to transact with it right away. If I get crypto in, like it's
Mhm.
going right back out. I make 70 grand a month in the real estate today, and it all goes back out. I pay myself $1,000. So I don't keep any of it. So if I'm going to have to just take crypto, that's one more transaction of converting something over.
Yeah.
That I have to go reinvest now. It adds steps, and I don't like extra steps.
Makes sense. You're a
Nah,
simple
that's,
guy.
That's fair. Nothing volatile. I like that. I'm not like a crypto genius. I kind of dabbled in it, and like when you listen to two people's differing views, it's a good point. How do you feel about it though, man?
What's really interesting is I got to do some research on the crypto and the NFTing on real estate. So in 2021, 10% of down payments were funded by crypto.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something that's coming up, and it's something that we as realtors, especially for us as Gen Z's realtors, should be aware of. And with NFT, I can see the future. Obviously it's going to affect us in one way or another, but the future is minting NFTs to real estate. I don't know if I'm using the terms correctly, or minting real estate,
You use it
Into
right.
NFTs,
whatever.
yeah.
Use it right.
And so you as a verb, you NFT the real estate, and therefore whoever does that gets a right of ownership
Yeah, they're like typing the
throughout
smart
the
contract.
life of the entity,
Yeah.
the property. So it's like I NFT my house in Tacoma, and then Charlie buys it. I get a proceed
Yep.
when he sells it to Trey, because I own the digital ownership. And I can see that getting really big, and it's
Pushing
freaking
like-
crazy.
Some investors
That's
start buying
yeah. That's why I
everything and
believe
NFTing
in
it.
NFT real estate.
It's so
because
crazy
of that
that
little
these are the
model.
beginnings.
And I
Like,
think
it's
that's gonna be
insane to
huge.
me.
If you could, how would you like see yourself scaling that model? If you could just break it down.
Honestly, I haven't breaking it down yet, but I can see it happening. I don't have the exact numbers. I don't have an exact plan. It's something that's sort of just out there right now. It's something relatively like just brand new. You know, NFTs were barely blew up this year or last
True.
year. You know, we still don't know 100% what we could do with it.
In terms of things
Thanks
you
for
have to
holding.
plan for, I know you have a property purchase you want to do in Florida. What's your goal, short term and long term, with like buying property out there?
So short term is just for the year being, we plan on buying a 10 plus unit apartment out in Florida. We're aiming for the Fort Lauderdale area. We're trying to find a seller financeable deal. We're actually going out to Florida in March, meeting up with some investors, checking out some properties. So I want to get a minimum of 10 plus units this year. My long term goal, we're talking about units. I don't have an exact number, but very similar to Cody, I really want to retire my parents. They have good jobs, but it's not enough to retire them. And I feel like so many people have that problem where they have parents that just can't. They won't be able to retire, especially with prices being so high right now. It's something that can't happen. So
That's where
that'll be my long-term goals, and then I can take care of myself. I'll figure it out. See,
Figure
that's
it out.
it's pretty easy to do.
Do you plan on being an agent forever? Like, do you always? Because people always talk about how when you're an investor, you don't need the license. So do you?
I don't plan on
maintaining
being an
it?
agent forever, but I do plan on being an agent for a while, like just maybe for the next 5 to 10 years, ideally.
What about you two?
As far as being an agent goes, maybe not forever. I'm not even an agent for myself today. It's not about the income. I always tell people, you know, if you can circumvent the earned income, it is possible.
Mhm.
So I'm an agent so that I can help out a select few clients that I've built up over the past couple of years, and help them go reach their goals. And I'll go find a deal, negotiate it, put it together for them, and that's great. But it's not about the commission today, because there's other income streams. I am focused on earned income this year, but I'm not out there advertising that I'm a real estate broker, because that's not my primary focus.
Awesome. And then in terms of my bad, upcoming deals and investments, Vayna, I know you have a BRRR coming up, correct? Give us some more insight about that.
Yeah, I bought a little house in Tacoma for $175,000, and it's actually tied up right now. So it hasn't closed yet, but I'm under contract. They've got some liens against the property that they're working out. So it should close in mid-February here. But 175 purchase. I actually worked the wholesaler down from 190. And then I'm putting about $50,000 into it, and it's going to be worth roughly $300 when it's done. So with $225 into it, when I refinance 80% of the $300, I get all my down payment back, and I can go do it again. and then the rent is going to cover the mortgage.
Look at that. And then Cody, you had a couple deals closed today, correct?
I've got some stuff that I'm working on. Yeah,
What do you want?
there's an 8-plex that I should be mutual on in the next day or two.
Woohoo.
Excited about that.
Come on,
Casual.
let's go.
Yeah, that was a fun one. Getting pretty creative. It needs a lot of renovation. So I lined up $1 million in financing, buying it for $840. So you can do the math on that. Zero money down. Stabilizer's worth probably $1,350,000, $1,400,000. So I'm gonna BRRRR that. It's kind of cool.
Is this another on market?
Off market.
Okay. I know you're doing a whole lot of on market seller finance deals. So I was like, if you did that on the MLS,
Yeah.
There's no excuse.
I'm working on another 13 units over in Central Washington. That's one of them's on the market, one of them's not. That's seller financed. I'm working on an off market 47 unit in Central Washington. It'll be another 0 down deal, but it's not, that one's not under contract.
Just working on it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then my biggest property, I'm working on a duplex right now.
That's your biggest one.
No, that was
God is
This
like,
went from 47 to 2.
no, that's my smallest property, but that's 100% seller financed. Working on putting that together right now. So
Just got it going on. We love to hear it. So in terms of your investment goals, I know you want to reach like $1 billion in real estate, correct?
Yeah.
What motivated that? Because that's a bit. Not a lot of people shoot for a number like that.
well, it's a made up number.
Oh,
It's a one with a lot of zeros after it. I don't know exactly how many
I
zeros.
like zeros.
Zeros are the most powerful number.
as long as there's something in front of it, I love a zero.
Yeah.
I can't do broke. That's somewhere I'm never going again. In terms of just like our long-term goals as like individuals and as a group, we're all young in this business. So what's some advice? Because we all talked about traits you need to have, but if you were to talk to yourself when you just got started, because no one does something perfectly off the jump, what's some advice you give yourself?
Advice I'd give myself, I think this ties into the few traits you need to have to be successful.
Yeah.
Learn how to fail. Learn how to be okay with failing. You're not going to get it the first time. But like for me, for example, a large part of my business today is cold calling. And that's a really tough thing to get into, especially for a teenager. Charlie knows. I know you stay on the phones.
I got a question for you. Yeah.
But so I started out cold calling because I didn't know anyone who was going to buy or sell a house from me. And when I made my first call at 18 years old, I got cussed out and I cried. And I didn't touch the phone again for 3 months. And then 3 months later, I still had no business. And I was like, well, if I had just made another phone call after I got cussed out, imagine how many deals I could have had by now if I had been calling for 3 months. So my advice is to learn how to fail and fail forward.
What about you, Charlie? What would you tell yourself when you got started that you maybe didn't know that?
So it's like Vayna, just learn how to fail, and also just don't be so hesitant on stuff. I started in real estate when I was 18 and a half. I wanted to start right when I was 18, but what was really stopping me was just I'm too young, I'm too scared, I don't want to fail, I don't want people to cuss me out. Because I do know about the cold calling part. That is true, because I was scared about cold calling for a little bit. Until I tried it out. Yeah, I did get cussed at, hung up on, cut off, just all of it. But now I'm almost in love with cold calling, and that's what you wanted to ask me. I cold call around 8 to 10 hours a day. It's crazy. Start in the morning and at night. And you guys know it. You guys, we're in a group chat together, and I send it.
So weird. I don't know how he does it.
I just dial in, and it's been paying off. Cold calling is definitely something that you have to do long term. You know, you can call so many numbers, but most of the people are just not going to give you a deal right away. It's a lot of nurturing, following up, and that's how it's been.
First of all, that's brutal.
Dude,
Charlie is a hustler.
My team leader calls me crazy sometimes when I'm just trying to get some business in.
What'd you tell younger Cody?
There's 2 things. Number 1, don't call people to buy their property. People that call to buy property, I think I'm not trying to rag on wholesaling, but this is the most flawed business model ever, because someone cultivated a relationship with that property. They love it, right? Mm-hmm. And they did that for maybe 10, 15, 20 years. And then they're going to sell it to someone that calls them up just to buy it. It's so transactional, and that's a mistake that I made in the beginning. And I ended up calling back the people that I made that mistake with after I swapped my business model. And they all agreed to lunch, and every single person agreed to sell me their property after I got coffee with them. They all turned me down when I was making the phone call. And so I would just tell my younger self, hey, stop trying to call people to buy properties. Figure out how to go get them lunch and go meet with them in person and learn how they did it. Because some of the strategies that I've learned through meeting, getting lunch with these people, I shared it with Cardone, I shared it with Kiyosaki, Ken McElroy. None of them knew how I was doing what I was doing. Like it's not out there.
Fun, yeah.
But you can learn that from people that have done it before. Do you want the skill or do you want property? Right?
Skill takes you farther, yeah.
So that's what I'd tell myself.
That's smart.
I have a quick question for you.
Okay.
So I do know you don't cold call to buy properties, right? You just build a relationship
Right.
out, right? Yeah. So what would you recommend to any realtor watching right now that cold calls, for example, me, Vayna, what would you recommend we do differently instead of just calling up saying, hey, you interested in selling?
Being in the single family space too.
Yeah, being in the single family space.
With people who
transaction.
may not necessarily have owned their properties as long.
What would you recommend? Do you have anything you could throw out?
Well, I mean, there
Throw it
are
on
single family owners that have owned for 30 years and there's
Mhm.
people that have owned for 10 years.
Mhm.
There was a guy that my business partner and I went over and met with in Central Washington. And there was this building, a single family house right next to my 12plex. And I looked up the owner, single family house, bought it 3 years ago.
Mhm.
It's like, okay. So I paid cash for it. That's interesting. Looked him up. The whole city lit up. Turns out he has like 300-400 units.
I love when I do that on accident. Like just
And by the
rich
way,
investors.
Zero debt.
Oh, wow.
Zero debt on the whole portfolio. And they're open to seller financing.
Mhm.
My point in this is that it doesn't matter how long ago they bought it. These guys bought it like 3 years ago.
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter how small the property is. Some of these owners love single family.
Mhm.
And at the same time, they can have hundreds of doors. So either way, I'm going to go book that meeting instead of trying to go buy the property from them. They offered to sell me the property, to which I said no. Stay true to your motive, right?
Stay true to your brand.
And then the second piece of advice, because I said there was two, I would tell my younger self to play in a blue ocean, not a red ocean. It's the reason I don't wholesale and flip very often. And I flipped one house, and it's because it fell in my lap, and it was a 6-figure profit in just 2 months. And it was under contract to sell within 2 weeks of closing on it. It was a
Jeez.
great
Deal.
Great deal. But short of that, I swim in a blue ocean, not a red ocean. There's a whole bunch of sharks in the BRRR area. There's a whole bunch of sharks in the flip area, and they're willing to chomp at their profits in hopes that, okay, maybe the market's going to go up a little bit, and I can squeeze out that little bit by not working with a broker who's going to charge me a 6% commission. There's all these different strategies, but I don't want to compete with that because there's people with so much more money. And so talking to my younger self, I'd say, go play in an ocean where nobody's competing in because they don't know how. That's a little bit cryptic for someone who's getting started, but if you can figure out how to play the game no one else is playing, eventually people are going to come to the table and you're going to be the furthest along to where you can innovate over protect. You can share your strategies and know that you can innovate quicker than anybody else at the table because they're still learning the rules.
Dang, we talked about advice you give yourself. What do you think is the best advice you've ever been given from an outside source?
Build your relationship, not a transaction. That's probably the best thing I've done. Yeah.
Instant.
I was told this 6 months ago, and it's basically what we've been approaching. I don't do residential sales, but I probably should a little bit.
I've got two. One of them was given to me directly by a coach, a real estate coach, and she said, I was 18, I was scared that people were going to take me seriously. I was scared he was going to buy a house from me. She said to appear wise beyond your years. So as long as you know your stuff and you're an expert in your market, like I said, it doesn't matter who you are, they'll listen to you. Number two is my favorite quote from Tom Bilyeu: as long as it is not against the laws of physics, it's possible.
I like it.
that.
I like it.
What about yourself?
I heard this from one of my first mentors, which has served me well because when I violated this rule, I got in trouble. But not in trouble, but you know, I caught myself and they knew it. Don't talk about things you don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
That's the truth. You catch a lot of people doing that, so-called gurus in our business and space on social media and TikTok, blabbing about real estate or talking about a lot of things that they may not be well versed in themselves. What would you guys try and say is the worst advice you've ever been given?
I don't. You guys start.
You can start.
No, I'm
trying to
laughing
think.
at the question.
Worst advice.
There's so much bad advice out there. I mean, I try and forget a lot of it. I hear a lot of people
Yeah.
going around say, buy for appreciation. That's a terrible, terrible business model. I mean, it's the quickest way to get rich, except for when you have to do it twice. It's a bad model. People say, I'm going to buy for appreciation because I can negative cash flow out of my job. And it works until it doesn't. You can make hundreds of thousands in appreciation, but you can make sure you never lose your real estate if you buy for cash flow. So buy based on cash flow for equity growth.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you flip it.
That's how I would flip that.
Would you say you don't worry about appreciation at all?
I want to multiply my money, but I want to do it on my terms. So that's the reason I don't buy residential. The commercial residential space is valued on the income.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about this a little bit earlier, but if I can raise rent $100 in this market, I make 20 grand a door, which is phenomenal. I mean, I'm okay. If I can buy a 12-plex and raise rent $100 and it's still a little bit below market rent, I make $250,000. Like now I'm playing a different game. How do I go buy that opposed to, and what's my budget?